Croeso nôl. Welcome back to the Fearless in Devotion podcast, sponsored, of course, by everyone's favourite, Bo, the fat one, bar and restaurant in Wrexham. Go and visit it. Enjoy its many delicacies. Right, reaction to the game first and foremost, and the draw, a tasty FA Cup third round draw. Andy,
Yeah.
how much do you hate Shrewsbury?
Well, not as much as they hate us. There's that thing where people, but other clubs go, yeah, Wrexham's our big one, and we've got a few of them. Even Hereford hate us. Hereford think that we're their biggest rival, and they're literally we're Welsh Roads. They're about 2 hours away.
Yeah, but I don't like them because obviously they put us down from League Two, so they're rivals now.
No, I don't like them because it's a crap ground, and it's So I'm not fond of Shrewsbury. I went there for the game medal one, the one where remember Lee Jones scored right at the death, and I went absolutely ape shit. Loved that game. Not been to the new stadium. It's a local derby. It's winnable, which I think is important in the third round. So I'm all up for that. Are we going to get tickets though? That's the thing. Don't think so, are we? 1,600.
It's going to be tricky. Tim, what do you make of the draw? Spencer Harris, contrary to what Andy just said, I think when he was on Fearless in Devotion, said that Shrewsbury were our biggest rivals and he hated them.
Yeah, can't stand the fuckers. Absolutely. I don't know what Andy's talking about. Oh, don't give me that look. It's a family friendly, sweary podcast. So
I'm gonna get my beat button out again.
No bollocks. No, it's not happening. I mean, I can't stand them. People say, is it bigger than Chester? Some people would argue no. Some people might argue yes. I kind of pity Chester. I just very much dislike Shrewsbury. Never. I've just don't like them. I've been to that new ground in our only visit there. We got in my head, it was so bad. I keep telling people it was 5-0. It was actually only 3-0, but it felt like 5. We were absolutely dross that day. No fight. Richard hopeless, leading a bunch of lost idiots. Neil Roberts aside, maybe one or two of the more local lads, but awful time because I was living down south and I had to get on a park and ride bus with a load of Shrewsbury fans on the way to the game, and they wouldn't let us out. They wouldn't let us out early. So we had to sit there and suffer it for the full 90. So horrible. Can't wait to play them. Can't wait to hand their ass to them.
That is big talk. Liam, Andy says winnable game. Is that a fair assessment? Sort of League One mid-table teams, not a bad draw to have.
No, from what I've seen of them, they don't tend to score that many goals, which, that could be a big problem for them because that's not really a department we struggle in. And if you looked at the goals that they did actually score against Notts County, I think everyone's probably seen those on Twitter. It's a bit of somewhat of a comedy of errors. So I don't think it suddenly means that they're prolific, really. They've got a couple of strikers we've heard of, including Ryan Bowman. But I am looking at it and thinking it's winnable. It's not definite, but I think some people said they were disappointed, but I can always remember the likes of the 3-3 game in the promotion season 2002. 2003, so I'm all up for it.
Can I just read this team to you? So Shrewsbury 3, Wrexham 0.
I know
Gavin Ward in goal. Simon Spender at right back. Richard Hopeless. Phil Bolland, was it? I can remember him. Really, yeah.
Yeah, he played for Chester. He was shite.
Yeah. Well, they were all shit. Except Neil Taylor was all right. I mean, he did go on to to play in the Euros and score against Russia. Yeah. Mark Williams came off for Danny Williams. Neil Roberts, Sam Aston. Remember him? He used to get the ball on one side of the pitch, run to the other side of the pitch, and then pass it back.
Or kick it out.
He had a big handoff on him as well.
Yeah. Matty Dunn, what happened to him?
He went to Rochdale.
He's coming back on loan, apparently.
Oh, is he? Okay, good.
Yeah.
The very wide sort of, he had a very wide gate on him. Michael Proctor.
Proctor, who scored obviously the famous goal, the last ever goal at Gay Meadow.
Yeah, massive shoulders. And he was up front with Drew Broughton. Let's not discuss that. Yeah.
Terrible times. And Andy, you've taken us back in time a little bit there. Explain to our new listeners, new Wrexham fans, maybe from across the pond or anywhere, what's Shrewsbury like? It's a posh middle class town, isn't it? It's not. It's always fun sticking one up on.
It's quaint. It's got nice bars. It's actually really nice place. place
On
to go.
visitshrewsbury.com, it would say it's quintessentially British, wouldn't it? I think.
Yeah,
Market
it's
town.
actually it's
It's
really
full of
nice.
full of hair salons and nail bars.
To its credit, it's not Wem. Wem is probably the worst fucking place I've ever been to. Not just in Shropshire, in Britain. It's a horrible run you out of town with chase music, play a banjo on the porch sort of place. Yeah.
When done to you? Why are you so scarred about
I went out
Wem?
for a night out in Wem. Oh, it was terrible. Hated it.
Shrewsbury
Can we
also,
move
of
on?
course, the home of Charles Darwin. So let's hope that
No revolution went on there, mate. I'm telling you.
natural selection will do its job and we'll be through to the fourth round. Right. Anyway, reaction to the Yeovil game, Tim. I mean, it's not much to say, is there? It's pretty. Didn't really get out of third gear.
It was it was very, very, very easy, wasn't it? To be honest, like everybody said, not got out of first or second gear. Really nice to watch for the most part. Again, just controlled the game and then picked them off at will when we give them a bit of the ball. So yeah, just really, really enjoyable. Powered sound, made a decent save. Probably looked better for the cameras than what it needed to be, but a solid save. And let's all talk about George Evans's wonderful tackle, almost certainly goal-saving tackle. And yeah, it was just nice. It's a weird thing to go to Wrexham matches, especially with this one and the Morecambe one, to go to games and just feel like, after the first 10, 15 minutes, you're like, yeah, okay. Like, there's so many more people going for halftime pies after about 15 minutes now, after these last two games, because there's just an air of inevitability about Wrexham at home. It's as simple as that. The record speaks for itself, and lovely to watch. Lovely to watch. The goals are very well crafted. Their keeper could have made a bit of a hash for the first one, but it was just nice
And
to
the second one, I think.
Yeah. It was job done, and we will need to go up a gear for Shrewsbury. A couple of their lads and their salop cast who will hopefully have on this show before the match were taking great delight in saying, well, they're just a League Two team. They kept on saying that, just a League Two team, just a League Two team. Maybe we are, but are we better for now? But yeah, very, very happy and delighted, and it was a belated birthday gift for Phil Parkinson.
Great stuff. Major news probably this week is about the temporary COP seating. Liam, do you want to talk us through what's been announced? I'm hoping that's a yes. He's frozen. Always happens.
Yep.
He's back.
Sorry,
He's back.
Yeah, Mike. I don't. I don't know what just happened. So yeah, there were rumours going around yesterday at the game that there was going to be a new temporary stand, and I said no chance that's happening because I had read the minutes of the advisory board meeting in September because I am a dull man. But the question was raised there about whether a temporary stand might be a good idea while the COP, was still waiting to be built. And it was essentially said at the time that financially it just wouldn't make sense. So fast forward to this morning, I'm just trying to pad out while I load the statement and look like I'm actually prepared. So yeah, it said work will commence this week, essentially, to install a temporary stand behind the goal at the COP end with a capacity of 2,289, which is actually pretty darn big for a temporary stand. It'll have 20 wheelchair spaces with access via Crispin Lane, and it's hoped that it'll be ready in time for the Newport game on the 23rd, which is a pretty quick turnaround. I think there's probably some applications like licensing, etc. I don't think planning will be an issue because we've already got permission, essentially for a much larger stand. But it's quite a quick turnaround. It'd be impressive.
In the words of Alan Partridge, can I just stop you there? Because we've had a wonderful message from one of our followers who is involved in all that kind of side of things, and he messaged before. And this is what he said. Clubs are starting without the permissions, licenses, and this side of it will not be turned around in 3 weeks. It needs building regs approval, fire authority consultation, a safety certificate, licensing, environmental health checks, etc. And after all that, insurance. So we will see. He went on to say, structure will be up in no problem. It's just getting the above in place before the public are allowed in. It would be some turnaround. So there we are.
I'm just reading those minutes you mentioned, Liam, and it says here, will there be a temporary stand installed at the COP? Sean Harvey confirmed there was no basis upon which a temporary stand could be financially viable.
But
that
hang on,
was then.
it depends how long it's going to be up for, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
if they're thinking, right, we're going to have spades in the ground on this COP before the end of the season, no, it's not viable because you need to build there, you need to do foundations. They're obviously thinking they're not going to do that. They're not going to be starting the COP until the summer. So if you've got the rest of the season where people are gagging on tickets, so what was it, 2,000, 20 quid a go, it just makes sense, doesn't it? I think if you can do it, then
you're looking at least 40 grand, right? Every game.
I mean, you could charge that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be freezing. It hasn't got a roof. I went. Old Trafford had one for ages. Not the football ground, the cricket ground. And I went to a couple of Ashes games in temporary seating. It was absolutely fine, and I was spending 9 hours there at an all-day cricket match rather than 2 hours. So I think yes, it makes sense if the COP's not going to be started until the close season.
Yeah, good news maybe for now. If they can pull it off as quickly as they're saying now, that's fantastic. Maybe an ominous sign for where we are with the COP developments.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about what that says really. You would think if it was spades in the ground going in very quickly, then you wouldn't be throwing up a temporary stand. But I think we've all accepted that it's not going to be ready for the start of next season. So if it starts in the summer,
I'm no builder, but that COP is not going to be ready for the start of next season.
I'm sure you can pour cement down in middle of winter, can't you? It's fine.
Right, I mean, the hard standing is already down for it, isn't it? I think Stu Roberts, who's got a local drone, he's got a picture of it and posted it. The hard standing is already down, so they're trying to make good on the promise to get it up for the Newport game.
Yeah, let's see. It would help if there's some more tickets available for that game, by the way. So that would be great. But anyway, can we talk about Aaron Hayden quickly? Off again, not looking good, is it, Andy? I mean, it's just such a shame because we've all seen what he's like at his best, but he just seems to be constantly crocked.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this last week that why hadn't Hayden's deal been sorted? If you're sorting out the likes of James Jones, then Hayden, obviously you think he's a more saleable asset. He's a 26-year-old centre-half. He's probably got another 8 years in the game. The problem is that around about this time every season, he goes down with no one near him and he's out for months. It happened the first season he was with us. It happened obviously against Sheffield United last season and it's happened again. So you have to ask, does he trust his body in the winter? If he feels something, does he think, I can't go on? Some players play through the pain. Some don't. I do wonder where this leaves him with Phil Parkinson, because reading the quotes yesterday, you sort of feel that Parky's a little bit peeved, and there was that rumor knocking about, wasn't there? Back toward the back end of last season, that Parky sort of thought that some of Hayden's injuries were in his head and he really needed to play through the pain barrier and hadn't been. It was fine last season because we had enough cover. We're a bit short on defenders this season. Tunnicliffe's out. I mean, we have to play Gorgeous George at the back. He doesn't seem to really rate Boyle, which is strange because he's the one who brought him in a couple of months ago. And
he's our top scoring centre-back.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, Hayden's barely troubled the goal charts this season, has he? So, it's a shame because on his day, he is our best defender. He is our most saleable defensive player. And, you would think he is bottom end of the championship if he could keep it all together for a season. But he can't. And if he can't, probably... Would he get a new deal at the end of the season? I'm not so sure, Tim. Are you?
Yeah. No, he's not going to get one, is he? I think it would take some turnaround for him to get offered a deal right now. And I kind of somebody said to me, "Oh, do you reckon he'll be offered one?" And I kind of joked he'd probably get injured whilst he was signing it. That's how bad luck he's having at the moment. But yeah, I'm just intrigued about the Parky's comments. I mean, don't want to overanalyze it, but this is what he said. Aaron said his calf tightened up, but we really don't know how bad it is yet. So it's pointless me speculating on the extent of it. So him even saying that Aaron said his calf tightened up almost suggests that there's a bit of disbelief on Parky's behalf. Maybe we're looking too much at it, but rather than just saying his calf's tight, Aaron said his calf's tight. I don't know. I just found it a little bit.
I think only the player knows ultimately, how his body feels. It's hard, people. I've heard the suggestion of, like, is it phantom pain or whatever it is? Like only Aaron Hayden will know at the end of the day. That there are players who pick up injuries, more regularly than others. Remember the likes of Manny Smith, absolutely brilliant defender, but injuries just curtailed his career, and it's quite sad, really, because you can see that Aaron Hayden is an absolutely quality player and a huge asset when he's there. I just think it comes down to availability, though. That's got to be the main issue for Phil Parkinson, is has he got his players available for him when he needs them? And I think that's where the issue is.
Well, look, let's hope that.
Just one other thing on Hayden. I mean, he's coming into his prime contract, his main contract of his career, the 3 or 4 years that will, take him through into his prime. So, it's a big contract. He'll have to offer him probably more money than he's on now. And really and truly, do you want to tie up a player who you don't think is going to be available for half the season?
Yeah.
Probably not, even though it pains me to say it, because I would say that there was times last season where I thought he was our most important player.
Well, look, let's hope he can turn things around and that the injury is not as bad as feared, and we can see him back at his best at the racecourse soon. A quick word from you, Tim, on Arthur Okonkwo. Some rumours that on the extent of his injury. Please don't sing.
I am going to sing. I'm just not going to do it yet. But if you think I'm going to go through this getting away with me not singing, it's unfortunate because the people have spoken. Anyway, he was due to get assessed today. I was at Harrogate when he took the knot. It looked innocuous enough, but obviously the medical team saw fit to withdraw him at half time. But I think the guy who does Dazzler DAZL. I forgot his name now. I should know by now. I met him in the pub. He spoke to Aidan Davidson the other day, and Aidan told him, obviously, Aidan, goalkeeper coach, said that it's not as bad as first feared, so they're looking at a couple of weeks. So you'd like to think he may be back Walsall around that sort of time period. So, you put Hayden back in. Probably Nicholas starts the Bristol Street Motors game against Burton Albion on Tuesday. But yeah, look, Howard's a capable goalkeeper, and we'll be fine until Arthur comes back.
Right then, come on. What's this thing about? Why have you got to sing again?
Why have I got to sing again? It's just part of the segment. Part of the segment.
Come on, we're Welsh. We should love singing.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I've opted for a Christmas classic, right? Okay. I've got to try and remember the lyrics now because it just came to me in a moment of madness about an hour ago. So,
okay. Right, I'm sure it's going to be great.
Well, yeah, just meet yourself and get ready. So, well done. Yeah. Karaoke version. Don't worry, Andy, it's fine. Right. Last Christmas, Rob Lainton would play, but the very next day he got injured away. This year, to save us from tears, we brought in Arthur Okonkwo. Beautiful. It's poetry.
Oh, wow.
And the very next day, he got injured away.
I'm going to say, it's bad and it's also factually inaccurate because we've just heard he probably won't be back until Walsall.
Well, yeah, but it's besides the point. It's all about the art.
Okay. Wrexham keepers are like Spinal Tap drummers, aren't they?
Am I going to get marks out of 10 for that? Do I want to get marks out of 10?
I don't think you do. Let's wait. Email us and tweet us. Let us know what you thought about that.
On the talk of music, let's move on to thanking our esteemed listeners for including us in their Spotify Wrapped or wherever the Apple version is. What's the Apple version, Andy?
I don't know. You made me go for it. I can't remember.
Apple and peeled. I don't know.
Apple and peeled is a good one, actually.
Very good, Liam.
I think it's just replay 23 according to it. Anyway, so yeah, thanks to everybody who's, we've managed to infiltrate your Spotify Wrapped 2023 for listening to us. Hugely appreciated as always. Thank you for listening to us drone on and or sing dodgy Okonkwo songs to Christmas classics. Anyway, we thought just for a laugh and just to give you an insight into our questionable music taste, we all thought we'd share our Spotify Wrapped or Apple alternative. So mine is likely nobody's ever going to heard of because it's mostly heavy music. So Metallica's at the top. Understandably, they brought a new album out. I listened to a lot of it. And there's a few others in there you never would have heard of. And then Rockin' Robin down the bottom, coming to a live stage near you soon with some great Wrexham Terrace classics jazzed up. And then, Andy, let's go into yours first. Your Apple Unpeeled. I quite like that. Liam, you should trademark it. Liam described this as a very cheery
There's
top.
a lot of Radiohead on it. American band called Greta Van Fleet, who I went to see at Wembley Arena and were fucking terrible. They just played.
Are they the ones that sound like Led Zeppelin? Or
They just played long, boring guitar solos for about 20 minutes. Then War on Drugs, then Sam Fender, then Idols. Can I just say that actually in my top 10 is that I like to Move It song because I had to play it so often for this. Yeah.
Wow. You've also got Snow Patrol and Jamie T.
Yeah, well, let's leave Snow Patrol out of this.
No, we can't because we've got.
And Jamie T's good. I like Jamie T. I won't have anything said against him.
Right, okay. Impassioned plea for Jamie T. Liam, you've got a questionable number one. I'm sure you're going to try and pass it off as your good ladies, but take us through your top 5 in reverse order.
Well, I was going to say, just bear in mind that I've got a shared account on this, so if there's anything questionable, that's why.
There is. But
in at number 5 is the wonderful Mr. Frank Turner, one of the best live acts that you'll see. Sort of, I don't know, would you call it folk punk? Andy likes him as well. So
we went to the same gig, didn't we, in Manchester?
Yeah, we did. He was very good indeed.
Big friends.
In at number 4 is the K's, a band from what's that station? That's Earlstown. That's it, near Manchester. They recently played at Central.
Good back catalogue.
They recently played at Central / the Rocking Chair. They were really good. Lottery winners. They've had a number 1 album this year. I saw them supporting Frank Turner. Really decent up and coming band. Number 2, bit of a nostalgic throwback. 100 Reasons. If anyone remembers them from the early noughties, I'd say post-hardcore. If I'm trying to categorize them,
Singer's got great hair like Billy Ashcroft.
He has, but I don't think post-hardcore means anything to anyone who's listening to this. So sorry for that categorization. Number one is that was the list. Yeah.
No, go on. What was number 1?
Number 1 is Westlife, and that is because my wife is a huge Westlife fan, and I've seen them this year at Cardiff Castle actually. But that's just because I am a very kind and caring husband.
Lovely. And by no means least, the culture vulture from the Mumbles. Reese, take us through your top 5.
I can't remember it.
Oh, well, I can remember it, Ross. So number 5, Billy Joel. I think you get a pass for Billy Joel. I mean,
one of the greatest singer-songwriters of the 21st century. Yeah.
Yeah. 4, you've got Meghan Trainor.
No comment needed.
Okay. 3, you've got Muse. I guess a thumbs up from pretty much all of us, I think, here. 2, this is where I'm lost now. Giuseppe Verdi. I thought he played for Italy in the 90s.
I thought he was a left back at Lazio.
Me and Andy come up with some shit. I've
been listening to a lot of the Verdi Requiem Mass recently. It's a fantastic bit of music. You'd recognize the Dies Irae from it without doubt. It's very famous. It's used in lots of films and stuff. Fantastic work.
He says a good mass, does he?
He does.
And then top of the shop is Johann Sebastian Bach.
Yeah, that's that. Well, frankly, I judge anyone who don't have Bach as number 1 because he is without doubt the greatest thing that came from Western civilization in terms of music, logic. So yeah, but I admit I wasn't prepared for trainer. That came out from left field, and we are reflecting on that in the Williams household and trying to work out how that happened. Megan Trainor was a curveball.
Wow. So there you have it. Johann Sebastian Boybach down in the Reese household.
Yeah.
And yeah, there you go.
On that bombshell, reflect on us. Let us know what you think of our unwrapped and our unpeeled, if you must. But please remember, if you could be anything, be kind. But on that note, let's move on to today's guest, who is from the arty world. No, don't know what I'm talking about. But he is one of the producers on the documentary, which has taken the world by storm, of course. Welcome to Wrexham. Josh very, very graciously gave us his time last week and shared some of the secrets to what it's been like putting Welcome to Wrexham together. It takes an enormous amount of work from teams in America and also locally in Wrexham, of course. So please enjoy this chat with Josh.
Right, we're here with Josh Drisco, who's one of the producers on Welcome to Wrexham. I say one of them. There was a hell of a lot of executive producers on Welcome to Wrexham, but we're going to say Josh was the best one, mostly because he's here and Rob and Ryan aren't here. For full disclosure, Josh approached us to do a little bit of the voiceover for the new series and took some excerpts from the pod to help tell the narratives. Mate, we're always happy to help, and thanks very much for choosing us and not Rob, Ryan, Red. Yeah, because I've heard they do evil stuff. We don't even want to go into it. Right, he's here to tell us a few things we didn't know about. Everyone's favourite celebrity pack show about a North Wellian football club. Welcome, Josh, and how are you?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. We are already jumping into season 3, which I can say now that we announced it.
Yeah. Josh, you must be really bored of our voices because you went through a lot of episodes. So apologies for inflicting this on you. You have to talk to us in the flesh. What kind of?
Oh, no, I listen to you guys. I love it. You guys are great. Again, that's why we chose you. But I love your show, and I was listening to it before, and that's so I figured like these guys could help. They could help tell the story.
That's very kind.
Thank you for choosing us. Let's go back to the beginning, and I mean the very beginning. Well, not the very beginning, your birth or anything, but let's go back to when you're starting out in your career. When did you first meet a certain Rob McElhenney, and did you get his name right straight away?
I did. I met him actually around 1996, 1997 through a mutual friend, and we were in the sort of same little circle of friends for a few years in New York. And then we both moved to LA within about the same year and stayed in touch. And he knew I was an editor at the time. I wasn't doing anything particularly great. I was doing like commercials and promos and stuff. I hadn't done anything scripted, but I could tell he was a very creative guy and wanting to do something. And he came to me one day. It's like, hey, I have this idea for a show. I shot it with some friends. Who happened to be Charlie and Glenn, and he showed it to me. He's like, we want to do another one that's better, and would you help us edit it? And I was like, okay, but if I won't ask you to pay me, but if it gets picked up, I have to be on it. I have to be an editor. And he's like, okay. And so then they shot it. We edited it in Glenn's living room on his laptop, and here we are, 17 years later.
I mean, what were those early days of It's Always Sunny like? It seemed like guerrilla filmmaking in some ways, really, wasn't it?
It was the pilot, the pre-pilot that we did definitely was very guerrilla, very just them. If they're not in the scene, one of them's holding the camera, or one of their friends is holding the camera. Back then, little HD cameras. They were still tape; they weren't even digital. And then even when it got picked up, the first few seasons, very rudimentary cameras. It didn't look great, but it wasn't supposed to. That was kind of part of the thing, is it was supposed to be kind of gritty and not look really polished. That was very much by design, and very stripped down, minimal lights, minimal crew, just get the funny stuff from the funny people.
Didn't you have a character named after you? And did that character reflect your personality?
Oof, I did. No, very much no. Yeah, a couple. The writers, the Chernin brothers, Dave and John Chernin, wrote that, and I'd gotten to know them too. And yeah, I just read. I just got the script. I didn't know it was going to happen, and they named the character after me and the other editor, Tim Roach. And sorry, I have dogs. And
what
yeah,
the dog's called, Josh?
The noisy one is Rose. The quiet one is Arlo.
Oh, for podcast terms,
Sorry.
we prefer Arlo.
The quiet ones.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, the character. It wasn't he some sort of ski sort of bully?
Yes, he was like a loser skier stuck in. So should we? I got to get rid of this dog. I'm so sorry. Is this going to screw everything up?
We'll pause it.
Don't kill it when you say you're going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure no dogs will be harmed in the filming of this podcast.
No.
All right, good.
I like this one of those crazy. It's one of those cameras that follows people around the room.
Yeah.
So at least we know if he's going to off the dog or not. For those not watching on YouTube.
Yeah, the camera is following Josh around his room. He's feeding the dog.
You know what, Josh? We need an editor because we don't know how to bloody edit. So this is all going to end up in. But let's move on to Welcome to Wrexham. Did you know anything about football or soccer before you took over?
Next to nothing. I knew it existed. I knew that it was the most popular sport on the planet, and I did watch World Cup just because the stakes are so high. So I was always, sports, even if it's not something you're really into, casual fans will watch the biggest event.
Yeah.
Like casual golf fans probably watch the Masters, but not necessarily every little tournament.
Mm.
So I would always watch the World Cup for many of them, and really liked it. Just again, the stakes, you just know that it means everything. And so when I did start on this, it didn't take long for me to get very invested and really enjoy everything that comes along with football and the pyramid and all the investment and the passion. It did not take long. I was instantly hooked.
Yeah, and the seasons, like the first season and the second season, they tonally change quite a lot, don't they? There could be one episode is very much about action, and others goes off on a tangent. Maybe was that always a conscious decision that you wanted to take? And how do you sort of plan those changes for a season?
It was very conscious, and it was always the plan was for it to not focus on just Rob and Ryan and just the team. I mean, it's called Welcome to Wrexham, not Welcome to Wrexham AFC. And it was always the plan to be about the town as much as the club and about the marriage of the two, really. Rob and Ryan are obviously the catalyst. And, the first season had to at least focus quite a bit on the acquisition of the club and letting people know everybody knows who Ryan is, letting people know who Rob is. And so, yeah, and it was always very planned to have townspeople. It took a long time because it's with documentary and reality, you don't know what you're going to get. You'll go meet somebody and be like, hey, we like your story, and then you'll shoot stuff with them and be like, they're not great on camera or it's not as interesting as we thought. But then you'll meet Wayne, and like, this is perfect,
Yeah. How involved are Ryan and Rob in that planning? Do they sort of just say, look, we're making a documentary, you're our documentary makers, you go ahead and do it, and we'll do the bits that you want us to do? Or do they sort of have suggestions that you guys work in?
They have suggestions from broad strokes, but they rely on us to satisfy those and to find people that just sort of fit a narrative that we just all kind of know if it fits or not. Again, like Wayne is the perfect example. It's like, the turf is obviously a link, and so they ask us to find interesting people that are connected to the club and have interesting stories, or are just a good voice for the town. Like the Burrells are a perfect example too. Jackie and Julie and Arthur. Like you want a voice like that, and so they rely on us to do all of the finding and vetting, and we, and then finding people like we're like you guys, but also like Tom Williams for Knots, who gave us a voice for their side. Our crew also is very close with the club, so it's finding which players have stories, like obviously Paul with Alabi and Ollie's, anything. He likes to be on camera, and we shot a bunch with him, and a lot that didn't even make it in this season that we'll put in next season. And Jacob Mendy's great.
Josh, I was wondering as well about sort of the editorial side of it, like how eclectic it is. Like, because I'd say it's quite unique. What makes it quite unique is just how you just never know what's coming next. I'm thinking of that first series, and the first sort of episode, are focusing on Paul and obviously the acquisition, but also very much on football and footballers and getting through that. And then you got the Welsh episode where they're with Maxine and doing cooking, and you just never know what's coming next. Is that a conscious decision as well? That is kind of like, this is a bit of everything.
Absolutely. It very conscious, always very planned. From a macro standpoint, like we want to find things and go down avenues that aren't expected. If you're being told, hey, go watch this show about this North Walian football team, and be like, oh, okay, it's probably gonna be like Sunderland or something where it's like, it's just kind of all gonna be down this one avenue. But we very much want to always find other directions to go. And for other than locals there, Gresford was something that nobody was expecting over here. They most likely never even heard of it. So that's an obvious one too, but it's always absolutely deliberate to try to do that.
Josh, do you mind if we go through some of the episodes or some of the key scenes in the episodes from this season? And I don't want to sound like comic book guy in The Simpsons who goes, in episode 4 scene. We're not going to get that granular. So
good, because I won't remember.
Just your sort of general recollections. If we sort of go to the first one, I mean, the first few are always hyper-examined because the season is back. And we want to see what the changes are. So, we poured over this one because it's back. It's putting Wrexham on a global stage again. I mean, the first one played around with narratives and timelines quite a bit. Was that a conscious decision to tell the best story that you could of that sort of these events?
It was, and it's interesting that you reference it as the beginning of the season being most scrutinized, because it is also by us. Because yes, it's very challenging, but very important, and we did spend a lot of time on the first episode. And it, we felt like we were always going to show meeting the king coming. It was just too big of a thing not to. And we did have to take liberties and jump around in timelines, and it's very understandable that a lot of people are going to catch that, but we really have to toe that balance to make sure we tell the best part of the story and the important things and do our best to make it as cohesive as possible. But yet just get across the events that we want to and the things that we think are important.
And I think it is quite important, probably, to start with a lot of Ryan and Rob, really, isn't it? Just to nail them down. They're still a big part of why this is successful, isn't it?
Absolutely, it really is. And we're always, again, careful with the balance, like we are with everything, with how much we use of them, and they're very careful too, because they don't want it to be all about them. But their voice is obviously extremely important. And so it is important to sort of put them up front in the beginning, and get their take on how they're feeling about things, or the nice broad sense of like where the club is and where they want the club to go.
Yeah.
And so,
second episode, I absolutely loved. It's probably had my favorite scene of the whole 2 series in. Before we get to that, did you always want to do an episode on autism, or did it become a subject that came out of the footage you were getting, and you were sort of saying, right, let's explore this further, let's put these together, let's make this about this very sort of, I mean, it's a very single subject, but it translates around the world, really, doesn't it?
Oh, very much so. That one did. I mean, that manifested itself. We did not set out to make an episode about autism or families with children and autism. It presented itself because Millie was around. She was just, the crew's always there with the team, and she's always right there when they're coming in. And so the crew's like, this is interesting, and this connection is great that she has. So they learn more and more about her. They speak to her mom and kind of sort of mold that based on what is really happening. No fabrication of any kind. And then learning that Albie's son, Paul Mullen, learning that Albie was autistic naturally around that time, it just became a very obvious and beautiful story that as soon as we realized it, we had to tell it. There was never that question, but it's completely just one of those things. Like when you do a show like this, you get lucky. When something like this happens and it ends up, everybody's cooperative. Paul's great. He's such a nice guy and so willing to participate. And just that was born out of natural circumstances.
I mean, the scene I really liked was Millie putting together the package for Albie and sort of saying to herself, well, this helped me in this situation. It might help him. I'm going to put this in. And I just thought it was lovely. It just organic, just beautifully done. What do you sort of, as editors and as people directing the episodes, what do you sort of feel when you see a scene like that come back?
Well, when I saw it, I got emotional. You like that. If a scene like that doesn't tug at your heartstring, you don't have a soul, and it just
you have got a soul. Yes.
Yeah. Congratulations. Then it just becomes from our end to make sure the best way that we honor the story and tell it the right way, and don't exploit anybody or don't try to make it something it's not. Don't fabricate it, and just honor it really, and just make it a documentary in the truest sense. This is who these people are. This is what they're doing, and it's wonderful and beautiful. And we just make sure we don't fuck it up.
You didn't fuck it up.
Can I ask as well, Josh? You've covered some really harrowing subjects, and the first series like Jordan and Kelsey, and obviously then Paul in the first couple of episodes, but then you got Paul and Albie as well, and then I'm thinking of the Ford family as well. This series in particular, could you give us an insight into how you go about persuading is the wrong word, but sort of allowing people to tell you their story then, because it's not easy, right? I would imagine
it's not. And I'll have to say that from afar, since I'm in LA, when a lot of that stuff is developing, the crew's relaying it to us, and they're just sort of telling us like, this is going on with this player, Fordy's wife is going through this, and I'm like, well, I hope they'll talk about it. But they're, then Patty, our producer over there, will be like, yeah, he's really into it. He's very willing to talk about it. And that always surprised me that so many of these players and people were so willing. They didn't really need a lot of convincing, to be honest. They were very happy to tell their story. And I don't think anybody needed, any like multiple conversations. They trusted us. It was a big part of it, obviously. Our crew, again, I'll keep mentioning the crew because they're amazing. Some of them, I'm sure. And Milos was still there, and Patty's there, and Claire and Gaz and everybody. They have such a good relationship with everybody there, town and club. And so I feel like we've earned their trust to the point that they kind of don't hesitate too much to tell their story because they know we're going to tell it right, and we're going to do it justice and tell the right parts of it without being exploitive or fabricating anything. I mean, there's some players that aren't keen on being on camera, but that's okay.
For all those, there's Ollie Palmer.
I love Ollie. Ollie is great.
The next sort of episode, I mean, just to touch on what Reese was saying then. I mean,
sure.
It gives us fans such an insight to what players are going through. And, if they're having a bad game or something like that, we're on their backs, and these people might be having so much going on in their lives that we don't know about. And I think that's not just important for Wrexham fans. I think it's important for all sports fans when, especially in the way of sort of social media and things like that. Just want to sort of go on to the next episode now, which was more, it sort of zoned in on the Notts County, and you could tell that was going to be a theme all the way through, really. But what was a very interesting scene for us was the clash between Mullin and Tozer in the dressing room, which, for football fans, for Wrexham fans, that is gold dust. You never get to see clashes like that. There weren't too many of them through the story. Is it always quite a tough sort of decision to put something so sort of not dramatic, but so sort of such a remit of the dressing room into a documentary like this? Something
that is so truly behind the scenes that it's kind of delicate. No, I know what you mean, because it is delicate, because people are it's almost like they forgot they're on camera, or they're just so used to it, which is what we want, because we want authenticity. It's delicate, and we do allow them to, like, if we're going to show something like that, we give them a heads up, just to sort of be respectful, to be like, hey, this happened. You remember this moment, and it was a little heated. And
would you show them the scene, or would you just sort of say, this is the sort of thing that, would you sort of like paraphrase what happened?
We'll show them the scene sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if we did for that one, but like for the Albie and Millie, we showed that to them ahead of time, to make sure that they were okay with it. But we give them a heads up, but they're also at this point, they know, they know the camera's there. They don't change themselves, what they're doing in terms of in that, especially in the locker room, where like they're pre-game, mid-game, post-game. If it didn't go well, if it did go well, they really are being completely honest, and they're not playing to the camera, and they so far have been very open to us showing that. Again, I think because of the trust.
Just a sort of technical sort of thing. Would there be a cameraman in the recording in the dressing room, or would it be like a static cam or that zoomed in?
It's there's a crew in there. There's a cameraman and a sound man, and a producer.
So they are really comfortable
tucked in the corner. Yeah. And that's not a big room.
No, it's not. Right, I want to talk about episode 4, Sean's holiday. Now, right, divisive is, I think.
Sure.
It was divisive on here, but everyone else I spoke to who's not so much a Wrexham fan.
There's a division, mate. We're the division. Right, I'm going to be honest. Right, I'm going to be honest. I didn't really like this one. I thought it was too much constructed reality, and I never wanted this documentary to be like that. I never really wanted it to be, oh, look at these bozos, they can't run a football club. I didn't think it. I didn't think that sort of fitted the professionals we brought in to do a job. But I can understand why you did it, and I think tonally it struck with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. It did, and that one was it is very much a departure from sort of what the show is most of the time, constructed reality. But we just thought it was so funny, and it did show sort of it's just sort of shined a light, we felt like, on sort of the chaos and sort of that this is still new to Rob and Ryan.
Yeah.
And we just, I totally know what you mean, but we just sort of felt it was a fun way to just sort of give like a day in the life.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy to run a football
But
club,
I understand,
kind of
but it's fair what you're saying, for sure.
I mean, I think it did sort of underline how important Sean Harvey is to this story. And, when he first came in, there was a bit of there was a lot of skepticism about him coming into the role. But, you can't really argue with what he's done. I mean, what I really need to ask is, would the real Sean Harvey be able to take on the body double? Because the body double looked absolutely mean.
jacked.
I don't think Sean would want to. I don't. He fortunately did not have to meet that guy. That was shot here in LA. And
right, so they were American actors, were they?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, you could tell that they were well oiled and bronzed.
Sean Harvey might be well oiled. We don't know.
He might be. We'll never know.
So skipping on a little bit, the women's football one was great. I think it's something I know they wanted to get across more in the first season, but I think that was a really good sort of introduction to it. And you've got characters there as well, like Rosie and Lily's a star, isn't she?
She is amazing. All those goals are. Lily, though, is her maturity for her age and what she's been through is just incredible. And we really wanted to show it. I'm glad that we waited until the second season to do that, because it gave us more time to really find out who these women are and learn. Like, we were just blown away. Like, Rosie works at a prison. Like, well, we have to show that. And it's just another story that's just there for us, and we had to make sure we honored it, and just really wanted to let people know how much these women and these players put into this, and they don't have help. They're not paid. They have jobs, and it's a great juxtaposition to the men's club.
Yeah. Going ahead to the next one, that was for me the FA Cup pure football.
It was so
joy.
good.
I really enjoyed it. And I was just waiting. I was just waiting for the Billy Sharp. We were all just waiting for the Billy Sharp. What are you going to do with Billy Sharp? Up until that, it's an FA Cup run that will live long in the memory, because it's the first one we've really had in a while, and it's just so great that it's also documented there. That we can always go back and relive it, and I managed to go to all the games, and it's there for fidelity, really.
I was going to say as well, Josh, the in terms of putting those together, because I would say, without trying to blow too much smoke up your ass, they're so well put together, because it's really hard to tell that story, right, of like a couple of weeks in such a short time. I thought the same about the Knots episode. Is it that you guys are picking up football really quickly and kind of get it a lot more? Do you have consultants who just sort of keep an eye over things?
This is a great question. It is a comment. It takes a lot of people. I mean, not just our crew there, they're all from the UK. So our crew there knows, they know what to focus on, and multiple editors work on these, and multiple producers, and we all have our say. But yes, we're learning as we go in terms of us over here in the US, but the team together is just able to achieve that, I think, is the best way I can say it. And it did come together well, and it's just such a huge team effort is really the reason. So many of our crew are also, whether they're from Wales or not, it's a mixture, UK, Manchester, and all over. They are also very passionate about the sport, so nothing has to really be explained. In fact, they can explain that they explain things to us,
Yeah.
about things like the FA Cup, just telling like what the FA Cup means. Like I had no idea. I knew it existed.
I always enjoy that when Humphrey tries to sort of get across the vagaries of like why to try and explain to an American audience why this particular cup is more important than others. Like that's because I do understand it's a difficult thing to explain.
It is such a foreign concept over here. Like there is nothing like promotion, relegation, tournaments going on during the league. It's really hard to explain to a lot of people here in the beginning, and then they get it eventually. But it's just such a foreign concept.
Was that the episode with the infamous map of all the clubs? This particular,
yes,
map.
I knew this was going to be brought up. I knew it was.
It angered so many football fans to much hilarity.
Sure.
I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
Isn't Josh's title executive producer and director of maps? Welcome to Wrexham.
Visions.
Yes.
I had visions of Josh being sat there like a Bond villain, stroking a cat whilst watching the chaos unfold. So tell us a bit about that, because it was great.
I did not. I don't know how else to say it other than we just missed it over here. That graphic was created by people in California, and I think it was our graphics people. It was referenced by a map that existed online. It wasn't just actually randomly put together by our people. Like there was a reference for it. Somebody else made a map like that, and somebody should have done a little bit better due diligence. And I was surprised when on social media I was like, oh shit. Whoops. And
Josh, it wasn't a marketing brilliant ploy. There's some people suggested it was great marketing because you got so many people talking about Welcome to Wrexham in that episode.
Yeah. Well, we have fixed it. So if you watch it in the future, it should be correct. We retroactively, but we weren't able to do it in time.
It was fun having Everton near Anglesey and Cardiff and Swansea in the West Country. It was a joy. It's a work of art, to be honest.
Man.
It really is.
You got Wrexham White. That's all we care about, mate. That's all we care about.
Right?
The due diligence must be hard, though, right? Because, it's an awful lot of content. You got an awful lot of rushes that you've gathered.
It is. It's extremely difficult, and the hardest one is. Well, for us, I guess the hardest one is maps, but the hardest one is like once you get later in the season, trying to remember how many points you had at game 42, and how many points you had at game 43, and how many did Knots have at game 40, and again, that's because that's also foreign here, like that whole concept of, and so there is a lot of us like doing all this, like double checking, triple checking, and going back and looking. I mean, the information's all there online, but like you still to find like each week's updated table, to make sure like, okay, there was a game in hand, or no, we didn't have a game in hand. So it does take a lot. And then the map is the one that slipped through.
Well, you're forgiven. It's fine.
How good was a character like Ben Foster to come into the series at that time? He's just so comfortable in front of the camera, isn't he?
Again, just getting a bolt of lightning, just striking gold with somebody like him. Yes, so camera friendly, media savvy, great personality, leader in the clubhouse, loved by everybody. Decided to do it. Decided like, hey, I'll come in and help you. This is all in the documentary. I'll come in and I'll help you get over the hump. We'll figure the rest out after that. And he'll come out of retirement. And he did exactly what he said. And he fit right in and loved being there. And as we started his career there, as we all know, and was just sort of from both sides, it was like, well, this is perfect. I mean, we've had some trouble with keeping keepers healthy, and
they're like drummers in Final Tap, aren't they?
They are. We actually taught we thought about that concept at one point when we were like spitballing shit. It was like, should we just have one of them spontaneously combust? I mean, so we just like it's just crazy. But and then you just can't write what happened like with the not save. I mean, it just the save with Kedwin. I mean, people. I know there's some people afterwards who were like, you guys have to be writing, like you have to be having control over this, and we're not. I mean, it did happen, and yeah, what just good fortune and just such great opportunity to tell such great story.
Right, two things on this before we move on. One, I was in that episode and you subtitled me. Is my voice not suitable for an American audience?
You know, maybe it was just the mic recording. I don't think it was your voice.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
we
okay.
just was it poor audio.
Dodgy sound.
Yeah, definitely. That was it.
Yeah,
I'd also
that's
had 5 pints. Secondly, on that,
Yeah.
who messaged Notts County Zone, and did you expect that response?
That was me, and I didn't. I mean, I really thought that they would be like, "Yeah, sure, we'll come and talk." I've been following that person, and we still don't know. I don't know who he is. We don't know who he is. And I was like, we were starting to realize, hey, we need other voices. So we want all voices, good or bad. Like truth. Like we want people that are like that hate us or knocking us down or unhappy with things. And villains are always great, for storytelling and not. And I did. I was just like, well, let's see if this guy will talk. I sent that nice message, and that was the response, which I was a little surprised about, but I'm not going to be surprised by things like that anymore.
No, I mean he got what he wanted out of it, really, and
yeah. And then he came out and said on social media that he had asked for $1,000, £1,000 to be interviewed, and we turned him down, which is absolutely not true. 100% not true.
You'd have paid him $1,000, right? Easy, no problem, straight up.
Maybe
that's an interesting one, actually, to focus in on. Were you surprised? Not you're used to it by now, as you said. Were you surprised maybe at some of the animosity towards Wrexham? Because kind of, it would be the same, right? If this was happening to like Notts County, I would despise them, and it would really wind me up, and I'd take any opportunity to slag them off. But was that kind of to an American coming in, kind of like, why are you guys hating on this club for no reason?
I think it's a little surprising. It was a little surprising to the level of it, sort of the degree of the hatred. It's so unique over there with the passion, and there really is just no respect between a lot of and yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to me. I don't know that it was a big surprise to our crew, and I mean they've started to even warn us about some certain fan bases and stuff. I was asking Wayne over the summer. I was like, what are after we were promoted, it's like, so what are the fan bases going to be like now in this up in the next league? And he's like, they're going to be worse. It's like they're going to be even more passionate. They're probably going to be even more negative, and they have, some of them have been, to be honest with you.
But it's a compliment because it means we're doing well and we're rattling some cages. So
yeah, absolutely. But that's what you want. And like you said, yes, it would go both ways. I mean, I'm sure if Knots or whoever, Grimsby was having all this other success, Stockport is having success. And I'm sure it bothers a lot of people there.
As we sort of move on towards the end of the season, can we just say thank you for Gresford, because that taught me some stuff I didn't even know. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Wrexham, and I didn't know a huge amount about that. I never got taught it in school. Tim, did you?
No, there's quite a lot depending on what school you went to, but I didn't go to Welsh language school, which you dare say might broach that subject in more depth. But no, it's weird because it's literally a mile away from where I live, and I go past it, drive past it often. You go down there, you read up on it, of course you do, and then it's I think it's different. It's very much different reading about a subject that's so poignant and heartbreaking and so historical to the area, but seeing it brought to life on the screen, on the small screen, but done in such a way that was so well delivered, because it's such a subject. You have to be careful because you could go about it in the most purest form and purest way of doing it and trying to tell it the right way, and somebody somewhere may find fault with it. But I think looking back, there's literally nothing. I personally couldn't find anything wrong with it, because it was told, it was delivered perfectly, and just all of it. Even that kind of flash forward about, is this wheel going to be used as part of the cop, or or is a new version of it? So it had all these elements coming to it. You're kind of like touching on the past and bridging it with the here and now and into the future. So yeah, it was pretty special. It's definitely probably my favorite, I think.
That's great to hear. I think all the maps were correct, if in that one.
I don't think it wouldn't have mattered much in one, but
we talked about doing that one. We talked about that subject and about doing something with it in season 1, and it basically just quickly became obvious that we shouldn't rush that. We wouldn't have been able to do it this way if we tried to fit it into season 1. So we waited so that we could do more research and figure out the best way to tell it, and make sure we honor it, and make sure we give a voice to people like Ruby, whose father died. Find people like that, and just gather as much information and archival stuff and voices to tell it right. And we just didn't want to rush it. And it seems to have been pretty well received. I obviously didn't know much about it, and I was wondering, as you bring up, like, were you guys taught about it in school? I kind of was like, you must not have been, really, at least not at every school, because the school scenes in there with Margaret and Alan coming in, if they're coming in to have to teach the kids, then that leads me to believe they're not being taught it automatically in their curriculum. So that was kind of interesting to me too, because it is so local, it's so present there, that I would think it would be told. But
were you nervous when that episode went out? When episodes like that go out, because they're so sensitive?
Yes, I was still nervous. We were a little bit nervous, even though we felt like we had done it proper. But again, like with Albie and Paul and Millie, like you're just so concerned about telling those correctly and honoring them, that I was a little nervous that there might have been some people maybe pointing out any incongruencies, or if we fucked anything up.
But I think you're not. I mean, you can use that episode as the prime example of it, but the overarching feeling from everybody, and the reason why it's become as successful and received such universal acclaim, is because people can resonate with its honesty. It's not, you're not trying to jazz up certain bits or have a bit of poetic license, so to speak, to sort of, oh well, yeah, that's a bit more dramatic than what it should have been. It's just, it's as raw and as honest as you could want from a docu-series like this.
Yeah, that was the goal. I'm very happy that that's how it turned out. We did spend a lot of time with that one too, and I think we hit our mark. I think we achieved our goal. It seems like.
On that sort of subject, episode 13, where you went to the families, that Ollie Palmer reveal, really, really well done. I didn't know that, guys. I don't know if either of you knew that.
No.
I mean,
No,
I thought Ollie Palmer's dad might have come up earlier, because when the king came to visit, I thought that might have been like a line you took there, but no, you left it, and fair play. That was proper good tea. I know you're just watching it going, I went, fuck me, I did not know that. And there was such a good bond between them as well, wasn't it? It just came across really well on camera. Yeah,
and again, that's their cooperation, but There really was. I'm sure that was a big surprise to a lot of people. But it was another way of us being able to just humanize these players. Like we talked about earlier, like it's the same here. Nobody thinks about these people's lives off the pitch or over here off the field of the diamond. I mean, they're there to do what we want for our organization to win. And if they don't, then we have bad things to say about them. And if they do, we put them on pedestals. And it's so nice to be able to tell these stories and humanize these people. And I think that helps, for me anyway. That all helps the final episode, the promotion, and helps. Yeah. Like we wanted for people to be feeling these things. Probably with the trophy, as opposed to just these guys won. It's like, no, these people won, these humans that have all these other things going on in their life, and they still went out and achieved this.
What the hell was that, Tim?
I don't know, something just happened on the telly, but there you go. I was on mute.
Dogs.
Tim is always on hand to ruin an emotional moment. So no, but
hey, at least my dog's asleep. Balanced it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just watched the final episode, first time I've seen it, and it did bring it all back. I mean, like, there's a picture of me and my mate, and we've followed Wrexham for so many years, but 15 years in non-league. It was just such a release of emotion to finally get there, and again to have it all documented. It's just I just know I've got this for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
to come back and just
totally
relive that day again and again. And just, as we sort of sum up, can I just say thank you to you and all the producers and the likes of Claire and the people who did all the filming, because I worried that this could be a disaster. I worried that it could be a piss take. I worried it would be, I don't know, poverty porn or something that didn't really sum up what we knew about our club and our town. And I think you captured it. And the fact that it went so big shows that it resonates everywhere as well. And we thank you guys for showing our town in that light.
I was lost, Josh.
Yeah, he's so stunned. You bored him into silence, haven't you?
Stunned by Gilpin's emotional monologue.
What a way to end.
I've still got two questions to ask him yet.
I thought America was this high-tech place where the Wi-Fi was always amazing. He's in Arizona, though.
That camera's not moving now, is it? Oh, man.
No. But Andy, on that note, though, I do totally agree. Quite a few of us were concerned, weren't we, that it could be, all of those things that you mentioned, in particular, poverty porn, particularly when I saw a couple of the trailers early on, and I thought, oh gosh, but actually, it was really well done, wasn't it, Tim?
Yeah, I had no concerns whatsoever about that. I'm surprised Andy, because I remember he said at the time, because this is going to be massive.
Yeah, but you still have
but when you've got two people like the owners putting their name to something like this, it all comes back to reputational damage. They're not going to put the name to anything that's going to throw a massive amount of shade on it. Let's be honest. I think probably 85% of stuff across the entire 2 seasons are probably correct. There's probably a little bit of overspill that they maybe not got quite right, or be interesting to see what was left on the cutting room floor, etc., etc. If Josh does come back, and we'll give him a couple more minutes to ask him. But yeah, I just thought, I thought it was pitched well, and it'll be interesting to see what season 3 brings in terms of
they're doing it quite a lot quicker, aren't they? They're bringing it. They're rushing it through. Not rushing it, but that's probably the wrong word. But I think they were realizing that more and more people are catching up with this week by week, and the longer you leave it, the more people might think they know the story. So I wonder if they are sort of cutting the lead times on this just to get it closer to the end of the season.
I kind of want to know what markets they've yet to go into. That's what I wanted to ask him, because I don't even think it's hit the Far East yet, is it?
No. Yeah,
That's lucrative.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
quite rare for someone to go abroad in a Wrexham top and not be mobbed by, or at least have someone ask some questions. But when I went to Istanbul on the weekend, and no one bothered about the Wrexham top, so maybe it hasn't.
That's because they were
reached
playing
there.
Wales about 3 days later. That's why you were just like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
wasn't going to give him the time of day.
Oh, they'd already qualified. They didn't care.
Yes, they did.
Right. I think we might have lost Josh.
Let's give him a couple of minutes, and we can ask him about those things.
Yeah,
as well.
he's back
Here he
in.
is.
He's back in the room. Just coming back in now. Hiya, mate.
Yeah, Josh, did you hear Andy's monologue?
No, it froze right
Andy,
at the
go,
beginning.
Andy, go again. Go again.
No,
I don't know what
can't do it.
You could do it shorter this time.
In summary, you went, thanks for your efforts. Very well applauded. That's what
thanks
you
for your efforts. Thanks for your efforts. You showed the town in the light I wanted it to be shown in. It wasn't a piss take. Thank you very much for doing that in a way that, you know, I'm proud. I'm even more proud of my town due to that documentary, and I think that's down to you guys and what you've pulled off. So well done.
You can keep. I mean, please praise on. But no, thank you, and it is such a huge team effort. My co-showrunner Brian Rowland and Jeff Luini over here, the three of us really put a lot of our lives into it. But really, it's like you guys, the club, the team, you guys, people like you have opened your doors and your hearts to us. So we wouldn't be able to do it the way you're describing without the cooperation of Wrexham and Wrexham AFC and everything. So it's just been it's just worked out so well for everybody. It's been such a great marriage so far, and we don't intend on stopping. So, you know, like I said, we're shooting season 3 already. We have been, and there's more great stuff to come. And for me, it's just been a huge joy. I love going over there. I can't wait to go back.
Josh, where else is this yet to reach globally? Because I don't think it's hit the sort of Far East market yet in terms of, because we know, you know, we see that with the Man Cities of the world and their lucrative tours over and all that sort of stuff. I'm just wondering, because they love that Far East market. They love stuff like this. You know, it's such a huge part as well. So I'm just wondering where we were at with that, because I don't think it's got to that point yet for them, is it?
I don't know that it has. I don't know that Disney is available there. You know, like the Disney Plus and Hulu. I'm not entirely sure. I know we've got the Australian people that are able to watch it, so it's made it there. Hopefully, wherever it hasn't reached, it will. You know, that's not totally up to us, really. But yeah, hopefully it just keeps growing and growing.
Where's the most obscure place you're aware of that people have watched it? Did you ever get told, you know, the sort of demographics back? Oh, yeah, by the way, there's
definitely
Tahiti.
Pukeli.
Yeah, it could be that.
For me, when I was starting this and reaching out with trying to find people from around the world, it was Iceland.
Okay.
And I've kept in touch with a fan in Iceland, and there's a group of them there.
Yeah.
And they're even coming to a game in December. And that was the first one that I was like, God, really? I mean, I know geographically it's not as far away as like Australia. But I didn't know they watched any sports in Iceland. I mean, I don't know. But they do. Apparently they have a football team. That was the biggest surprise to me.
Josh, can we ask you about bringing the publishing date forward for the next series? Because it's going to come out before the release date, before the end of the series. What was the thinking behind that?
Rob was just really we have the show Hard Knocks over here. It's about our NFL, and they do it every year, and it's only 4 episodes. It's 4 weeks, and it's during their training camps. So much like you guys, we have the preseason with you guys have preseason friendlies and stuff like that. It's the same thing. There's about a month before the NFL season starts. they're training. That's all that they're working out. They're getting in shape, and they're also trying to decide who's going to make the team and who's not. And it all airs like, so they'll shoot it one week and then it'll air on Tuesday night the next week. So it's an insanely fast turnaround, but you're literally getting it almost in a full like news presentation, like it literally just happened. So that's the thinking is that the audience, to show the audience like how currently what's happening is happening, because it was really, as we were doing the season, it was like, God, they're not going to be able to watch this till, November, the Bournemouth, and it happened at the end of April, and it just felt like too much time. It just felt like too much time to deprive the audience and the story of that. Just like, hey, let's just let people see it quicker while it's still fresh in their minds.
Lads, I'm going to end on the quick fire, which I've slightly adapted, and unless anyone's got any last questions for Josh.
No.
Last one from me. I got one more. What's the sort of toughest obstacle you came across during this entire job? Really, what was the biggest thing for you to kind of overcome?
Mm-hmm. I think for me the toughest thing was trying to decide what to actually keep in the show, because we have 10 hours of show and we have 7 months of footage. It's
a lot.
So we spend the editing is tough. The post-production is really, really challenging, and that was probably the hardest part for me, because I come from scripted, and so it was just like dealing with unscripted, dealing with all these stories coming from all these different people and times, the timeline stuff, making, really trying to keep that as best we could in natural order, but we can't always. So really just taking everything and telling the story and putting it into a final product in the final form was probably a bit more challenging than I thought until I got there.
Yeah. Cool.
Right, before we get into a quick fire, where's your favorite place in Wrexham?
Turf.
Yeah.
All right.
I've got
like it.
one word, Checkers. Actually, it's 3 words, Checkers Wine Bar. Get yourself there next time you go over. If you want to get stuck on the carpet.
Or Pod sponsors the Fat Boar, obviously.
Oh yeah, of course.
I love the Fat Boar. I've eaten there many times.
Thank you, Josh. Well said.
Yeah.
Well remembered, Tim. They are our paymasters.
Yeah.
Right. We do like a quick fire question, and it's usually to an ex-professional footballer. So we're going to slightly adapt it for you. So the first thing that comes into your mind, which scene do you think was most skillfully put together or edited it?
The Bournemouth game. Promotion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which scene was the most underrated? I know we've mentioned a few that we've all liked, but is there one that you particularly liked?
I think it would be. Oh man,
I'm going to pitch in with Rob McElhenney's description of Billy Sharp, because that is football heritage right there.
Maybe Rosie at her prison.
Yeah. All sorts of permissions to film there as well, I bet.
Yeah, not an easy one to do.
Who had the worst attire? Who would you say had some really dodgy clothes? This is easier on a training pitch. I realize. So if there is anyone who you think, I'm not sure about that outfit.
It could be Team Wartown. Anybody?
Yeah. Anyone?
Oh man. I think. Oh man.
Lockdown. It's lockdown era Humphrey Carr.
Oh. Well, God, I mean, nobody really dresses too outrageously. How about Rob McElhaney?
Yeah.
Love it. Terrible goal.
The flat
No,
hat.
that's fine. Yeah. That fact, I think I'll be honest, right? Ryan pulls that hat off immaculately. The hat that Rob wears, for me, doesn't work as well. I'm thinking like
Andy, what are you doing, mate? Why?
I'm just thinking it's a different shaped hat. It's a different shaped hat.
Yeah.
There's a bigger. It's bigger. It looks bigger on Rob's
Basically,
head.
Rob looks like me wearing a cap. Basically,
I don't know. I mean,
Andy Gilpin, cap police. Who'd have thought it?
Right, let's move away from that one before I get my season
You're
ticket revoked.
going to get me fired.
Which person would you least like to fight?
Oh, Jesus.
This could be staff. This could be your own production crew if you want.
I don't think I'd want to fight Elliot Lee.
Oh,
Okay.
really? I was not expecting that.
No,
Not because of his personality, but he's
five.
just so like I just feel like he just wouldn't lose. He just no matter what,
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't want to mess with Mendy.
No,
Again, not because of personality, but you've seen what he looks. I mean, that dude is jacked.
both with a pair of glutes on him, big time. To be fair,
Yeah.
Josh, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed getting an insight into behind the scenes, and hopefully you'll come on again after the end of next season.
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting to know you're going to try and turn it around so quickly. I don't think even we sort of realised that was going to be the case, but we look forward to it. Give us more content, inject it into our veins.
Yeah. Looking forward to the 7-day turnarounds. Thanks, Rob. What are you guys?
Oh man, you may not hear. It might be a stretch where you don't hear from me for a little bit. But yes, no, thank you, and we'll need you guys as always to help us tell, because we've already got some stuff being put together that we'll reach out to you about.
Cool. And just as a disclaimer, Rob Ryan Red are beautiful, lovely people.
They are.
We're real pod solidarity there.
Yeah.
Josh, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Josh.
Thank you guys.
Thanks very much once again to Josh Drisco for giving us his time. Really, really interesting chat. And we're very grateful to him for coming on. Time now for predictions. Andy, do you want to go first? What are we predicting?
So we got Burton at home on Tuesday. Is that right? Yeah. I think we'll use our squad, and I think our squad is going to be better than Burton's squad, who will do the same because they're struggling a little bit in League One. So I would see 2-0. I think it would be quite a straightforward win there in the Fleur Robinson derby. And then Saturday away at Forest Green. I can't go because I'm working. I think they're very low on confidence, but I just don't think we're great away from home at the moment. And if they really squeeze the pitch, if they really dig in, we're going to have problems because we just can't seem to grab hold of a game away from home. I thought we cracked it, County away, but it's crept back in. I still think we'll win, but I think it's going to be a nervy 2-1, and I think it might be like a last 10 minutes before we really break through there.
Yeah, fair enough. Tim, do you want to give us yours?
Yeah, I think our time in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy will come to an end.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just we're so good at home. You're not expecting us to lose, but there's going to be a curveball at some point, and this may be it. I just got a feeling. Just got a feeling we might lose. It's got to be sorted on the night, isn't it? So it could conceivably go down to penalties. I'm going to go for a 2-1 loss, and Fleur will set off a yellow flare in the stand in joyous victory with her dad. But in all seriousness, it's a good test, isn't it? It's a good test, but I think we might get edged out for some bizarre reason. I hope I'm wrong. And yeah, Forest Green, Dale Vince's vegan destroyers. I think they're proper struggling, and I think we are well overdue a decent win on the road. So I think we'll win. I think we'll win there 2-0.
Nice. I think I agree with both. I agree with Tim. I think we will lose to Burton. I'm going to say 2-1. And then I'm going to say that we will also go and win at Forest Green. I think it's when we're going to go on a really good Christmas run, dare I say it. Look at the fixtures after that. We've got 2 home games in a row, Colchester County. So I think Forest Green is going to be the start of a good run over Christmas, fingers crossed. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 win in Forest Green. Liam?
Tomorrow feels like one of those games where anything could happen, really, because I think we're probably going to see a few second stringers playing, albeit we've actually looked quite good regardless of what team we put out. So I'm going to go for 1-1 in normal time, followed by a win on penalties for us. That's very specific, so I might put a bet on that. And Forest Green away. As much as I think a draw away from home is all right, I think against a team that's so low on confidence, we've got to get a win, and I'll back us to win narrowly 1-0.
Lovely stuff. Confident-ish all round here, certainly for the league anyway. Thank you once again for listening, all you lovely listeners. Please don't email us because I don't think anyone's got access to the account.
Yeah, one person does. He doesn't even bloody do anything with Fearless anymore.
That's not. That's none of this here, by the way. It's just it's a rogue element. So what we'll do, we'll apologise to anybody who's emailed us. We haven't had access to it.
Yeah, please message us along in other avenues.
We'll get another one set up, and we'll be able to answer it all swiftly and efficiently.
Yeah, but please do message on the Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever else.
Yeah, go around Tim's house.
Go around Tim's house, knock on his door, tell him what you think of him. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Up the 4 walls, 4-sided town.